Welcome to Idaho Fish and Game's Hook and Bulletin podcast, your weekly news roundup of hunting, fishing, trapping, and conservation stories from around the Gem State. Hosted by Fish and Game's Public Information Specialist, Connor J. Lease.
And welcome back to Idaho Fish and Game's Hook and Bulletin podcast. This week we're talking about controlled hunt results, a black bear gets relocated from a Nampa neighborhood, and a couple of pollinator events coming up in Pocatello. But first, here's why drought and heat can be a bad combination for Idaho's fisheries. With severe drought in Idaho and summer heat on the way, it's likely anglers will lose some fishing opportunities. But Idaho Fish and Game will work to mitigate if it will provide benefits. Here's Fish and Game's State Fish Manager, Joe Kozowska.
Drought affects many aspects of Idaho life, including fisheries, and we're concerned. We will be watching them carefully, but there may be little we can do in some places where there simply won't be enough water to support fish.
It's likely there will be some fish die-offs, and there may be pressure from anglers to translocate those fish before it happens. But there may be little benefit to moving fish to other waters if it won't improve fishing there. That decision isn't taken lightly. Our biologists have experience and scientific research to guide them in their efforts. If there's a reservoir, a lake, or a pond that's destined to be drained or overheated, a manager has several options, including allowing anglers to take as many as they can through a salvage fishing regulation, trap and relocate fish, let the situation resolve itself, knowing that some or potentially all of the fish may die, or a combination of all the above.
Our staff works hard to provide and maintain fishing opportunities, so it's tough to see a year like this. Some anglers may think we're reluctant to trap and relocate fish, but under the right circumstances, we can and will do it.
Let's talk salvage, harvest versus relocation for a sec. When a body of water is about to be drained or become uninhabitable to game fish, fisheries managers face a couple of key questions. First, can the fish be effectively and efficiently captured and transported? There must be access to open water, and the fish can't be too stressed to be transported and released safely. There must also be personnel and resources available to do the job. Next is the important question. Will translocating fish significantly improve the fishery in the receiving water? It's not a wise use of resources to translocate fish if there's no benefit to anglers.
We faced a cost-benefit decision, and there may be other projects that provide more benefits, but we also know how hard it is for anglers to see fish die-offs.
Giving anglers the opportunity to harvest fish through salvage fishing is often a better alternative, even though the uncaught fish are likely to die. It's no surprise, water is a vital and finite resource. It's also common for anglers to get frustrated when their favorite fishery loses its water, but consider this. Most Idaho reservoirs were built to store irrigation water. Game fish exist there because water owners and managers have worked with Fish and Game to provide fishing. But an irrigation company's main obligation is to deliver irrigation water, and during droughts, they can't always meet demand. Fisheries managers know they may periodically lose fish populations in these reservoirs, and in most cases, it's a short-term setback. When the drought ends and reservoirs fill back up, Fish and Game can often restock catchable trout and immediately resume fishing opportunity. In other cases, it may take a little longer, such as translocating warm water fish like bass and panfish. The goal with warm water fish is to stock adults in the spring and let those fish spawn, then the next generation grows up and provides fishing opportunity. That process may take several years, assuming the water conditions remain favorable. Low, warm water can have a much greater impact on sturgeon populations, for instance. Fish and Game temporarily shut down sturgeon fishing in recent years in portions of the Snake River after getting reports of sturgeon dying, and they may have to do it again. Even with the fishing shut down, some sturgeon may die, and those can take decades to replace due to their slow growth. Rivers and trout, for instance, tend to be more resilient, but they're not immune. Many of Idaho's rivers have a variety of elevations, habitat, and environments. When rivers warm in summer, fish can usually migrate to cooler water, such as higher elevations or cool, shady tributary streams. But even if the fish escape summer, some fish mortality may be delayed because die-offs can also occur during winter, and stressed fish are more susceptible. All that said, here's the good news. Anglers, you can help protect fish without even realizing it. During the hottest days of summer, we tend to be less active, and so are the fish, particularly trout, which makes them less likely to get caught by anglers. When fishing is slow due to hot weather and lethargic trout, fewer anglers fish, they tend to spend less time fishing overall and tend to catch fewer fish. Those factors mean angling pressure is generally self-regulating, and catch rates decrease to the point that they are unlikely to affect trout populations. So, Fish and Game rarely has to alter fishing seasons to protect trout in rivers. Now, fish die-offs don't necessarily mean long-term population decline. Trout populations are resilient for reasons that anglers may find counterintuitive. They're typically stable because there's a constant turnover of fish. It's common for a third or two-thirds of the trout population in Idaho streams to die each year. One might think that would lead to drastic swings in populations, but the high turnover can actually make the population more stable. There is a core group of adult fish, the ones anglers are typically targeting, and then there is a larger population of younger, smaller fish. A portion of the adult population is lost each year, which allows some of these younger fish to grow and fill in those gaps. The best long-term protection for trout is healthy rivers and the ability of fish to move freely upstream and downstream and have a variety of habitats to live, spawn, and escape warm water. It's important to remember this last point. Whether in a lake, reservoir, pond, or river, fish populations have good years and they have bad years. Fisheries managers use science and experience to know when it's time to step in and protect the fishery, which they won't hesitate to do if needed. Idaho fisheries have experienced drought many times in the past, and it remains to be seen how bad this one will affect fisheries. Fish and Game will monitor the weather and water conditions, respond when management changes can mitigate damages, and then work to reestablish lost fishing opportunities after water conditions improve. For more on this story, hit the link in the show notes to read Roger Phillips's full article. Also, be sure to keep your ears to the ground as we move deeper into summer. There could be some changes to various fisheries as temperatures rise, so make sure you stay informed. All right, last weekend in Nampa, a black bear decided to set up camp in a resident's pine tree. Here's that story and how Fish and Game worked with Nampa PD to safely relocate the bear. On Sunday, June 14th, Idaho Fish and Game enforcement officers and biologists responded to a report of a black bear in a tree in a residential area in Nampa. In collaboration with the Nampa Police and Fire Departments, Fish and Game staff sedated the yearling male black bear, loaded it into a trap, and transported it to a suitable release location up in Unit 32A, north of Ola. This bear was a yearling that was probably recently kicked off by a sow and trying to figure out how to survive on its own. This bear hadn't caused any issues or conflicts that Fish and Game staff were aware of. It was not food conditioned and very clearly had an appropriate fear of humans, all of which factored into the decision to relocate it. Quote, "It's not an everyday or even yearly occurrence for a bear to end up roaming a Treasure Valley neighborhood, and it's even rarer for us to relocate one." Those are the words of Regional Wildlife Manager Ryan Walrath. Quote, "Often, euthanizing a bear in town is the only option," end quote. Frequently, by the time Fish and Game staff catch wind of bears in town, they've been causing problems for a while, have been receiving food rewards from human sources, and have lost an appropriate fear of people. It would be a recipe for continued conflicts with people and a potential public safety risk if Fish and Game were to relocate a bear in those circumstances. Even when those circumstances are absent, chemically immobilizing and attempting to relocate any large animals poses potential risks to the public, the animal, and our staff. Quote, "Our priority is public safety and the safety of our staff, followed by the safety of the animal," said Regional Supervisor Josh Royce. Quote, "We don't always have the resources to mitigate those risks to an acceptable level, but in this case we did. It is rare that we can do anything other than euthanize a bear that is in a place that we don't want it. This was one of those very rare exceptions, and we took advantage of it," end quote. With that said, our Nampa staff are saying that it could be a busy year for town bears down in the Treasure Valley. Wildlife biologists in southwest Idaho are seeing more reports of bears in town than usual, and earlier than usual this year. That's likely influenced by the current drought conditions. Quote, "We wouldn't be shocked to see even more bears in places they wouldn't normally be as we get into late summer and early fall, as we expect that natural food sources will be harder to come by," said Ryan Walrath. While it might seem strange to say about the Boise metro area, the Treasure Valley does sit on the edge of the untamed, and essentially all of Idaho is bear habitat. It will be particularly important this year for residents to remember that as we get into summer and early fall, they should think about adjusting some of the behaviors to ensure they don't give bears that wander into town any incentives to stick around. Also, it's important that residents promptly report bear problems to their local Fish and Game office. Often, if Fish and Game know of a problem early, staff can provide homeowners with information to encourage them to make some of the above changes, making their neighborhood less attractive to bears and making non-lethal interventions by Fish and Game staff more effective. If the first report Fish and Game receives is about a bear trying to get into a house, staff have fewer options. If you see a bear in town, report it to the Southwest Region Office in Nampa at 208-465-8465. By now, you've probably all seen the viral video of the bear rescue if you live here in the Treasure Valley. But if you haven't, go check out Nampa PD's social media or hit the link below and read Brian Pearson's press release. All right, boys and girls, finally the big day is here. Controlled hunt drawing results for deer, elk, pronghorn, fall bear, turkey, and swan are now posted. Results of the deer, elk, pronghorn, fall black bear, fall turkey, and swan controlled hunt drawings are now available. Hunters, go check your emails or log into your online account at gooutdoorsidaho.com. For more information about how to view your drawing results, check out Fish and Game's Controlled Hunt Results Information webpage. Fish and Game's licensing system will be experiencing very high volumes as hunters log in to check their results. To help move customers through the system as quickly as possible, a virtual line will be turned on for the first few hours that results are available. Hunters, remember that anyone who applied for a controlled elk hunt, not including super hunts, extra hunts, or depredation hunts, is ineligible to buy a capped zone elk tag until 5 days after tags go on sale. Sales dates for capped elk zones, except the Sawtooth Zone, is July 8th at 10 a.m. Mountain Time. The Sawtooth Zone elk tags will go on sale at 10 a.m. on July 10th for in-person purchases and 1 p.m. for online purchases. Sawtooth tags will be evenly divided between in-person and online sales. Lastly, don't forget about super hunts. Hunters still have a second chance to win a super hunt tag this year. The entry period for the second drawing goes through August 10th, where tags for 2 elk, 2 deer, 2 pronghorn, 1 moose, and 1 super hunt combo will be drawn. Super hunt winners can participate in any open hunt in the state for deer, elk, pronghorn, or moose, including general hunts and controlled hunts, in addition to any general season or controlled hunt tags they also hold. All other rules of individual hunts still apply. Winners of the second drawing will be notified by August 15th. Hunters may enter the drawings online at licensed vendors, Fish and Game offices, or by calling 1-800-554-8685. For more information, including frequently asked questions and photos of previous winners, visit the Super Hunt webpage. Okay, last up, a Pocatello man was sentenced to prison for extensive unlawful guiding and wildlife violations in Teton County. Here's more on that case. On June 2nd, 2026, Joseph Jenkins of Pocatello was sentenced for unlawful possession of a firearm by a convicted felon, felony possession of wildlife taken unlawfully, guiding without a license, and a bear bait site violation in Teton County following an investigation by Fish and Game conservation officers. At sentencing, the Honorable Judge Boyce accepted the terms of Jenkins's plea agreement and issued a whole string of sentences, which you can read the full list on our website, including $9,750 in restitution for 9 unlawfully taken animals, $1,498 in total fines and court costs, and a lifetime hunting license revocation. Jenkins was originally charged in 2024 with numerous felony and misdemeanor wildlife violations uncovered during a multi-year, multi-jurisdictional investigation. Idaho Fish and Game officers identified an unlawful guiding scheme in which Jenkins assisted hunters with the illegal taking of wildlife in eastern Idaho through an illegitimate hunting sweepstakes advertised on an Oklahoma radio program. Throughout the investigation, Jenkins was found to have assisted in the taking of 5 unlawful bears and 4 unlawful elk, including 3 bulls and 1 cow. Investigators also determined that he profited over $55,000 through the illicit guiding operation. Violations identified by investigators included felony unlawful possession of a firearm, multiple felony and misdemeanor counts of possession of unlawfully taken wildlife, guiding without a license, placing bear bait unlawfully, violating forest road closures, aiding and abetting, molesting big game with a motor vehicle, trespassing to hunt or retrieve game, and failure to remove bear bait sites after the season. Notable elements of the case included the commercial guiding scheme spanning multiple counties and the unlawful harvest of multiple big game animals, including bull elk and black bears. Fish and Game is thankful to the public for remaining vigilant in reporting potential wildlife crimes. Public involvement plays a critical role in ensuring Idaho's fish and wildlife will exist for future generations. They would also like to thank the prosecutors' offices of Power, Caribou, Bannock, Jefferson, and Teton counties for reviewing the case and pursuing charges consistent with all these violations. Remember, poaching is theft, and anyone who observes a wildlife crime or has information about one is encouraged to call the Citizens Against Poaching hotline at 1-800-632-5999. Monetary rewards are available to individuals who provide credible, detailed information that aids in identifying suspects and leads to the citation of suspected wildlife law violators. That's all I got for top stories. Let's hit the rapid fire bulletin. Fish and Game is seeking comments on the 2026 through 2027 sage grouse seasons and tag proposals. Staff are proposing a decrease in sage grouse tags offered and a recurring opening date of September 15th. Hunters and other interested parties can comment on the public comment webpage until Sunday, July 5th at midnight. This year, June 22nd through June 28th marks National Pollinator Week. The Portneuf Pollinator Partnership, say that 5 times fast, composed of various community organizations, will be celebrating pollinators during that week in Pocatello with fun, informative public events, culminating with a special celebration at Idaho Fish and Game's Edson Fichter Nature Area. So come see what all the buzz is about. Hit the link to see the full list of upcoming events. Visitors to the South Hills can now learn more about one of Idaho's most unique bird species through a new interpretive sign installed at Diamond Field Jack Campground. Over the last 2 years, the group has worked together as part of the Cassia Crossbill Working Group to develop a habitat management plan and increase public awareness of the species and its habitat in the South Hills and Albion Mountains. Fish and Game's Niagara Springs Fish Hatchery will be temporarily closed to the public beginning June 22nd while construction crews upgrade the facility's predator exclusion mesh panels. These upgrades are necessary to protect hatchery fish reared at the facility from birds and other wildlife. The closure is expected to remain in place through September 18th. All right, that's all the news we have for this week. Thanks for putting an ear to Idaho Fish and Game's Hook and Bulletin. If there's something on your mind, or if you got a question related to fish and game matters, feel free to drop us a line at podcast@idfg.idaho.gov. Again, that's podcast@idfg.idaho.gov. Thanks for listening, folks. I will be out of town next week, so no Hook and Bulletin, but we have a brand new episode of Shooting the Bull dropping next Wednesday. Check it out. We'll talk to you again later.